Hey everyone and welcome. In this explainer from EasyPathUni, brought to you in coordination with yazan.abogosh, we're diving into 3.3 Executing the Audit, Best Practices. We're going to go way beyond just the textbook stuff and really explore how a routine audit can transform into this incredibly powerful tool for improvement. We'll use real-world examples to make it all click, so let's get right into it.
So let's start with the big question, right? What is it that takes an audit from being this, tedious chore everyone dreads and turns it into something that actually sparks real positive change? Well, the secret isn't just in what you check, it's all in how you do it. We're talking about the difference between just ticking off boxes and conducting a genuine, valuable investigation. You wouldn't start a road trip without a map, right? Well, an audit is no different. You need an execution plan. So in this first part, we're going to lay out the essential steps, a roadmap, if you will, that guide us all the way from that first meeting to the final report. This is what keeps our investigation on track and makes sure we get to our destination, real insight. And luckily, we don't have to invent this map from scratch. The global standard, ISO 19011, gives us a super clear and logical sequence. You kick things off with an opening meeting, just to get everyone on the same page. Then you dive into the real detective work, collecting evidence and figuring out your findings. It all wraps up with a closing meeting to share what you've learned, and then, of course, preparing that final report. This isn't just red tape. It's a proven path to a solid, fair audit.
Okay, so we've got our map. Now we're getting to the heart of the journey, the investigation itself. In this next part, we're going to open up our auditor's toolkit and look at exactly what we need to gather solid, verifiable evidence. This is how we find out the true story of what's happening on the ground.
You know, any good detective will tell you, never rely on just one source of information. And that's exactly why we use a mix of methods. Looking at records tells you the official story, but watching a process happen in real time, that shows you what really goes on. And interviews, well, they give you that all-important human context that numbers alone just can't provide. When you put all these pieces together, you get a full, three-dimensional picture of reality. And here's a fantastic example of how to do interviews right. If you ask someone, "Do you follow the complaint process?" you're probably just going to get a yes. But if you say, "Walk me through the process," now you're inviting them to tell a story. You'll uncover all the little details, the potential roadblocks, and the real-life experience behind the procedure. That's the kind of stuff a simple checklist will always miss.
And this really gets to a crucial shift in mindset. Auditing is not about playing gotcha or hunting for mistakes. It's about getting a crystal clear understanding of reality. When we can build an accurate picture of how things actually work, we create this solid foundation for genuine, long-lasting improvements, not just a few quick fixes.
An audit is never just about spreadsheets and documents. It's always about people. So for this third part, we're going to focus on how to navigate that human terrain, because honestly, your communication skills are every bit as critical to a successful audit as your technical know-how.
So when you walk in, you really have two ways to approach it. There's the adversarial way, where you're focused on scrutinizing everything and finding fault. That approach pretty much guarantees people are going to get defensive from the get-go. But then there's the partnership path. This one's built on collaboration, with a shared goal of making things better. This is how you build the trust you need to uncover the real root problems that actually matter.
So how do we actually build that partnership? Well, it really boils down to a few key things. Treat the people you're auditing like partners working toward the same goal, not like suspects. Show some genuine curiosity about their challenges, not just whether they're compliant. Be upfront about what to expect so there are no surprises. These aren't just little niceties. They are strategic moves that completely change the entire dynamic of the audit for the better.
Building partnerships requires trust, and trust is built on integrity. And that brings us to part 4, the auditor's moral compass. To navigate this journey, especially all the tricky human parts, we absolutely must be guided by two core principles: objectivity and professional skepticism. Now, I know the word skepticism can sound a little negative, but in auditing, it has nothing to do with being cynical. It's all about keeping a questioning mind. It just means you're always alert for things that don't quite add up, and you critically look at all the evidence you find. Basically, it's the old saying, trust but verify.
But staying objective and skeptical isn't always easy. ISO 1911 actually points out 5 major threats that can compromise an auditor's independence. Things like pressure to push for a certain outcome, or even just becoming too friendly with the people you're auditing. Just knowing these pressures exist is the first and most important step to making sure you stay objective.
All right, we've followed our map,
we've used our investigation kit, and we've navigated the terrain. In Part 5, we've finally reached our destination. This is where we take everything we've found and turn it into clear, actionable results that can really drive improvement in the organization.
Now, to make our findings truly useful, they need a solid structure. Just pointing out a problem is not enough. A really powerful finding has 4 key parts. The condition, which is what you actually saw. The criteria, which is the rule or standard that was missed. The cause, the root reason it happened. And finally, the effect, which is the impact of the issue.
Let's make that concrete with an example. The condition? We found expired calibration certificates. The cause? The alert system that was supposed to flag them failed. And the effect? Well, this could potentially impact product quality. See how much more powerful and actionable that is than just saying some certificates were expired. This gives the organization a very clear problem to go and solve.
And at last, we have the closing meeting. This is so much more than just a final formality. Its real job is to present these well-structured findings, clearly communicate the big-picture conclusions, and most importantly, to pass the baton to the organization so they can start the real work of making things better. So, the auditor's journey might be over, but for the organization, the path to improvement is really just beginning. And that brings us to one final thought for you. After everything we've talked about today, what is the one single insight you're going to take and apply to your very next audit to help make it a true catalyst for change?